What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All 22 fantasy football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. Ray, today we are going to do a film review of the tackle class, or at least some of the top guys that we have for this tackle class. And as the reminder, which we give every time we do a film review, we are not doing a highlight film. We are showing you trends. We are showing you the things that we think define this player so that going into the draft, you have an idea of what to expect from the guys that you were drafting, right? With that, we are going to jump in with our first prospect here, which is Francis Mauigoa, who is the 6'6", 335 tackle, right tackle out of University of Miami. He's a true junior, played 42 games at right tackle. He played over 1,034 snaps this year with an 82.6 PFF grade. Ray, let's go ahead and jump into some of this film.
Let's do it. So, this is your boy. So, I'm just going to hit play and run with it.
So, Mauigoa here playing again, right tackle, number 61 at the edge there. Does a really nice job on this play, getting to the next level, right? He shares in the block on 95, the down end. Then he moves to 34, the linebacker here. Slow, controlled, focused. Creates a really nice lane for that back. Unfortunately, the box was kind of stacked, and number one comes in, really nice tackle from the corner there, right, from the nickel corner. It's exactly, or safety. It's exactly what you want to see there from the defensive side of the ball, but also, again, for Mauigoa, really nice job on this play. Again, it's not overpowering. It's not anything super exciting, but it's just fundamentally good football, which I think, he brings a lot of.
I'll just say it seemed a bit easier for him to get to the second level than maybe some of these other tackles that we're going to talk about. So that's my add-on for that one.
Understatement of the year, dude. All right, let's jump to play number 2 here. Dropping back in a passing set and kind of gets beat pretty quick on a swim move here. I think one of the things I'm going to point out a couple times in this video review, again, we're only showing 5 plays per prospect, is that he kind of can get caught reaching at times, and I think he often will hook his arm. And at the next level, again, like that's probably a holding penalty. That's not going to fly too well at the NFL level, especially when guys are quicker, faster, bigger, stronger, right? So that's something that definitely concerns me. Number 5 here again, kind of gets the best out of him. Carson Beck gets the ball out really quick, sees the pressure coming, just releases it, so does the right thing to save his tackle. If he holds this ball a second longer, number 5's in his face, right? So it's a lost rep from my perspective.
Yeah, that's not the helmet placement you want to be. Also, like you said, this is a 330-plus pound player. Might 320-plus pounds be a bit better suited for the next level to better combat swim moves and change of direction, things of that nature.
Here we have Mauigoa again on a heavy set with a tight end to his side. We're going to see him pull on this play. Right, go ahead and let it rip. We're going to see the thing that we've seen consistently now, which is good movement skills. Really nice job getting across. He shows he has a little bit of speed to his game, but he's out of control, right? At the point of attack, we're seeing him reach. We're seeing him hook his arm. At the NFL level, this is a hold. This is going to get called 9 times out of 10 as a holding penalty. I'd like to see him start to develop a base, get a little bit more low in his stance, attack with his hands, which we're not seeing him do, right? We're seeing him use his head and his chest at the point of attack. Use your hands, man. At the next level, there's guys like Charles Cross, who has prospects we've watched. If you've followed us, you'll hear me talk about it every year when we do tackle videos. I want to see tackles use their hands as the first point of attack. If you can't do that, a lot of times at the next level, you're going to have a really hard time against speed rushers and the quicker edges at the next level. I want to see him develop that part of his game because his movement skills are really, really good.
Yeah, the movement is great here. It's just, again, you see right here, he drops his head on contact. He's not really seeing what he's hitting. So your hands are going to miss when that happens. And when you don't see what you hit, that's when your hands miss and you're susceptible to being out of position. And right here where you can get a holding call at the next level. You get away with a bit more of that in college than you do in the pros, but you're susceptible to that at the next level when you are not hitting your target square. Everything was great right up until the point where he drops his head and doesn't really see the target and drive through it because he's not seeing what he's hitting.
That's exactly right, man. And you can't wrap around the neck. I'll tell you that much. All right. I think we have maybe one or two more here. Let's go ahead and let it rip. So 61 again here on the right side. And the quarterback's happy because he felt like he was protected. Obviously, Mauigoa is in space here, right? He's kind of all alone on this island, and there's a lot of room. That edge is lined up very wide, so you have to protect a lot of space. You're alone on an island. It's kind of like a corner, guarding a receiver out wide in space on the field side. Go ahead and let it rip one more time for me. And the issue I have is, again, you're kind of missing with your hands. He's dipping under you, and what is your response? Let's play another half second or two. It's to hook around the neck. It's to use your arm, use your forearm to hook around. I think this one's borderline penalty. I don't know if it gets called, but it definitely isn't great, right? Get your base under you. Attack with your hands. If the guy's going to dip like that, push him down. You have space. Your quarterback has space. Use your hands to create space for yourself and give yourself a second chance to attack, right? That's your first. Give yourself a second, right? Regroup, regather, re-attack. Here, instead he loops around his neck and he's kind of using that forearm hook again, which we've seen now 3 times in a matter of a half of football.
Yeah, I think one of the big talking points with Will Campbell from last year's class was the length. And I think not that length is overrated, because I'm a huge proponent of arm length when it comes to tackles, but more so wingspan and surface area. And I think Mauigoa has that to his advantage, where even if you have sort of a wide 9 type of rusher here, and you have a lot of space to work with, and they're going to attack your outside, there's a lot of surface area to get around. You said 6'6 plus, 330 plus, perhaps. That's just a lot of mass to try to get around. So he has that luxury of not necessarily having to be perfect. Narrow base here. He doesn't really have his post foot set or anything. So he is off balance, and he gets away with it because I think of the surface area that he has, that the edge rusher has to get around, just because of sheer size and length. So he has some margin for error that others don't. So clean this up, and I think you got a really high level protector here, but you have to be better with your hands. You can't rely on that natural ability, that natural size, because again, in the NFL, it's different, and they're going to exploit your weaknesses here. Again, he's upright here, not fantastic knee bend, narrow base. You fix that base in that slide and those hands, and you match that with your surface area, you can have something here. But right now, it doesn't look quite like a finished product.
Is that the last player? Or do we have one more? I think that might be the last one. Oh, we have one more.
I don't know what you're going to do now to crap on this guy, but you go for it.
No, let's let it play. So, okay, 61 here again on number 5. I was going to do a compliment. I always finish with a nice one, Ray. Good switch, right? He doesn't over panic. He doesn't over pursue. 5 goes inside. He's calling it out to 73 here. Once he makes that break. So go ahead and play another half second or so. He's calling it. He's ready to switch. He wants contact, right? He gets on there. Again, my only knock on this play is when he's at the point of attack and he does make contact, he's very high. He's high up. There's going to be stronger, better, faster guys at the NFL level. They're going to run him over, right? Like, you need to get your base a lot lower than this. And especially your guy's legs right behind you there. Like, you're going to get plopped on your back at the NFL level if you're this high. But really nice communication, really good job making the switch. I think what we've seen, right? Just to summarize a few things, shows a lot of strength against power rushers and a great push in the run game, but struggled against speed with keeping his legs under him and a good foundation. Gets beat across his face at times, and with more bendy edge rushers at the NFL level, will start to hook his arms and will get a lot of holding penalties. I need to see a better punch with his hands, and I think teams will start to respect that part of his game if he can do it. I think this guy has a great build, great size, and great athleticism to get to a better place at the NFL level. So I do expect him to get to that point at the next level. I see this guy, Ray, I don't know if you agree with me here, but I see him as a more mid to late first round pick in this type of a draft. I do not see this guy as an early first round pick, and I don't really see him kind of slipping to the second round because of the size and athleticism that he has.
Yeah, in a just world, mid to late first in some other tackle drafts. We'll see about this one. I think you mentioned it at the start, true junior. So in college for just 3 years, this is a young player with a lot of growth left ahead of him. This isn't someone who's in college for 5+ years, entering the
3-year
draft
starter as well.
Yeah, 3-year starter. So, I mean, he was thrown into the fire while still having a lot of room to grow, obviously on a successful team with a strong running game overall. So he's battle tested, but still raw with room to grow, which I think that's a lot of markers in the positive direction for a prospect like this. But you also have to be realistic with what you're getting here. We're not necessarily talking about a Penei Sewell, perhaps, or a Joe Alt, who I think was also, were also young prospects who were just kind of a notch above, right? There's a difference between first round players and, the E-tag elite players that we talk about, which we're going to talk more about during the full breakdown of all these guys. But, you have to kind of keep some of your calibrations in check here because there's upside there. But again, there's still some more question marks than what we've seen in the top tackles in prior years.
Yeah, and I would even say, so there's that elite tier, and then I think there's that next tier, and that's guys like J.C. Latham, that's guys like Talise Fuanga, that's guys like Paris Johnson, who fell into that right after that tier, who I've really, really liked, but I knew needed time to develop. I still think those guys were a step above what I'm seeing in Francis Mauigoa. So I do think he's a good prospect. I think he's a talented and first-round caliber prospect. I'd probably have him somewhere between those guys that I just mentioned and some of those like bigger tackles that Pittsburgh drafted, like Broderick Jones. I think he's a step above those guys in terms of what can be unlocked here, but still a step behind even my tier 2 tackle prospects.
All right. Interesting.
Okay.
Not necessarily sure I disagree.
Okay.
But all right. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the next player here. Who's going to be Blake Miller, the right tackle, number 78 for the Clemson Tigers, 6'6", 315, an Iron Man of sorts for Clemson, played in every game, didn't opt out of the bowl game, played through injuries, just kind of that lunch pail coaches, love to coach type of player here, a real stalwart on the offensive line for Clemson. We're going to get into the breakdown here, but again, so number 78 on the right side here, 6'6", 315. And we're just going to start off here. We're going to look at a few plays from the LSU game. And first thing that I like about him is he's incredibly smart. We're going to let this run, and his recognition is fantastic here. So right at the beginning of that kick step here, he recognizes the twist right away by reading the feet of the edge rusher here to the outside. So watch the rusher here. That's not a rushing stance. He's not flying upfield trying to attack one of the shoulders of the tackle here. He kind of gets a square base, and you're going to see Miller recognize that and already start to kind of shuffle inside as the rusher makes an inside move. And so he knows right away his head's going to flip to the inside, that someone's coming. This is a twist game because he's not being rushed from the outside. So he's going to transition to the inside, pick up the twist from the interior here, and then just mirror and ride him out. And then Klubnik does what he does best, which is not throw the football, but instead run out of the pocket. But again, very quick recognition here. Right away, reading the first steps of the rusher and then transitioning to pick up the stunt. I think he does a really good job here, which is what you expect to see from someone with, I think, like 50+ games under his belt in college. So again, you always want your offensive tackles. You want them big, you want them athletic, but you want them to be smart first and foremost, because mental errors on the edge of the offensive line can be devastating.
I like what I see here for another reason too. And I talk about frame, and I talk about the way that you hold your body at the point of attack. And you're right? He does a lot of intelligent things on this play. If you could stop it like just about halfway through, I want to see kind of, all right, so he takes those steps. I like his drop back. I like his stance. And I like how I like when I see an upper body tall, but your lower body like ready to go, right? He's in attack mode with his legs, but his upper body is still relatively square and ready for anything, right? He could punch those hands if he needs to. He can do whatever's needed here. And to your point, right? He sees that the rush isn't coming off the edge. He's controlled, he's focused, he's ready to go. I like it. And again, he doesn't attack unnecessarily, even when the rusher is going by him. He's like, this guy's going to go 5 yards away from my quarterback. I'm going to let him do that. I don't need to get hands on him yet, right? Let's let him kind of flush himself out of this play. That's exactly what you want to see. And again, it's intelligent football.
Yeah. if you're talking to me about a veteran, quote unquote, prospect here, that's what you want to see. So we're going to go ahead and have another positive here. So again, right tackle number 78, got a tight end to his side. And this is just forward movement in the run game here. He's just going to attack the D tackle head on here and just get movement. Nothing spectacularly nuanced about this play. He's got a good, step in here to the left, and he's just going to, again, engage and has the strength going forward to just kind of get a couple yards of movement here, seal off the defender, and, provide some space for his back and some space to run through. So nothing spectacular. I'm not looking for, a dominant sort of pancake block into the dirt here or anything like that. Just get to your landmark, square up, and then drive and strain to give space to your back to get some room behind you. I think he does a phenomenal job of that here.
Yeah, 100%. I think also it's worth noting, right? The defender that he ends up blocking is lined up over the guard at the start of this play. So he's lined up as like a defensive interior, and he steps over in a stunt to get in front of the tackle and really mess things up. I think the guard here kind of is the one that blows this play, because I think you're right. Your boy does a great job engaging. He doesn't get stalled either. He continues to push. The guard really should have been the one at this point to adjust and maybe get to the next level. If he can step up and get to 33 here, this is a play that has some legs to it and can really get some momentum. But what ends up happening is 33 gets through, makes a play. It's still like, a couple yard gain, but could have been a lot more if he had really done his job. So I like what the tackle does for sure.
All right. We'll see how much you continue to like of Blake Miller here. So again, right tackle, 78. Now we're going to start to see a couple of areas of concern here. So again, right tackle, I believe this is third down, and Clemson's getting the ball pretty quickly here. But again, so out on the edge by himself, decent punch, but then you kind of see him off balance here. And here's where I have a couple of issues with his feet and his core strength. I think he's right here. He's okay, kind of absorbing contact, but again, kind of high, not a great base. And then you're just going to see him just kind of get thrown back, and he's not really in any sort of posture here to address the second move from the rusher here and kind of continue to mirror. And I think that's a core strength thing, because as we're going to see in a couple more snaps, if his hands aren't perfect and he gets a little bit upright, he doesn't have the core strength to just kind of get back into position here, get your helmet in the right place, position your body in the right place to still shield the defender from your quarterback and allow time for him to get rid of the ball. So here, ball's released pretty quickly here, so it's kind of a no harm, no foul, but you start to see symptoms of what I see as a lack of core strength. I don't think his feet are terribly slow to where he can't mirror after contact, but I think the lack of core strength prevents him from just kind of flowing with the defender here and still shielding him away from the quarterback here. So again, he's knocked off balance because of that lack of core strength here and just can't get back into position in a good enough posture here if the play took a longer time to develop.
Yeah, we talked about this guy's 6'6", 315, Ray. So like you're talking about a guy who is probably 15 pounds smaller than what we would really like for our tackles to be. And I think you're seeing that reflected here, right? What I would like to see, because I do see good hand usage on this play, right? He does start to battle with his hands. He engages that way, but he's not able to really hold the point of attack and instead gets kind of ragdolled a little bit here instead of being able to, again, adjust and recalibrate. And it is an issue with your base when you're slightly underweight. 6'6" is really tall, so 315 is spread out. Like there's a chance this guy is a six-pack for all we know. Like it's hard to be that thin at the point of attack if you're not perfect in what you do. So I agree with you on this one. I think that's a good trend to point out.
All right, and so this goes a little bit to the core strength as well, but I also think this is where average feet can get you into trouble if your recognition isn't perfect. So we're going to let this run here again. Right tackle here. You have a wide rusher. And as we let this run, he's just kind of late disengaging and re-engaging. And so I put this in here because by this point of the game, this was the fifth time I saw LSU do this on a third down, where basically they're going to rush to the inside and engage his inside shoulder hard and then have a looper around to the outside. And pretty much every single time, Blake Miller was just late to disengage and re-engage. So once he's engaged here, again, whether it's a lack of core strength and the quick feet to kind of get off of this here, and even here, the twist isn't perfect here. I mean, these defenders are colliding here. This isn't a great job by the defense either, but it takes Miller too long to just re-engage off of this block and then, get re-engage with the looper here. Again, this was a trend. LSU saw this and just attacked this incessantly in this game. I'm not sure if that word actually fits in this situation here, but I'm going to go for it here. But again, the twist isn't perfect. Right here on a twist, if two defenders collide, you should be able to pass off your rusher to the inside, to the guard, and then be able to just seal off the looper, I think 88 or 86 here, with no problem. But he's just late to disengage and re-engage, doesn't have the feet to make up for it. And now he's got a free rush to the quarterback, which again, Klubnik doing what he does best, bailing out of a pocket that he probably didn't need to and kind of creating a bit of his own pressure there. Yeah, Klubnik had a lot of room to step up here. So I'm mad at Miller kind of because they're doing this a lot, but this is also on the quarterback because there's no need to run into your own pressure here. You got a pocket here. You just have a little bit of pressure to your left. I digress. I think Miller has a hard time disengaging and re-engaging, and that's something that if college coordinators are picking that up, you're going to have to fix that in the pros because they are going to relentlessly attack your weaknesses until you show that you can get it fixed. And this is not a problem point for you moving forward.
Yeah, and I think what I'm noticing here on this play as well is it's a really wide stance by the edge. He probably thinks he's alone on an island on this, right? So he's carrying it forward, thinking that he's not going to have help, and that if he lets this go, there's going to be a chance that there's a clear attack at the quarterback on the inside, which you don't want, right? Obviously, that's not what ends up happening, and they do kind of collide. And I kind of agree with you. I think Klubnik kind of invites that to happen by him bailing and kind of getting in the way of this. I think otherwise, this is probably not a perfect rep by any means, but it's okay and it's passable. Yeah,
it's passable against the LSU Tigers. I'm not sure it's passable against the New Orleans Saints. But yeah, that's exactly right.
Wow. The New Orleans Saints, that's the pass rush you went with.
Mm-hmm. Just the Louisiana, Chris. Come on.
Gotcha.
Keep up. So
pretty good.
I think this is the last play we have here. And so I'm going to go back again and end it with how smart of a player he is. I think he kind of knows who he is as a player, which to your point about this last rep where, hey, I might be on an island here. He knows he's not Tyron Smith out here, right? He knows he's not the most fleet of foot player here. This is more of a power player. So he's going to make sure he can get to the outside here, right? If he thinks he's on an island. I think he's got good grip strength here. But again, that core strength that we talked about before, I think that's a bit of an issue. One way to combat that is what I like to say, and you've heard it here before in some of these previous breakdowns in previous years, is die a slow death. And I think he's going to he's got some tools in his tool bag here. He's going to utilize a hop technique to just die a slow death here. So watch, again, he's going to absorb the contact here. Again, kind of gets a little upright here, but does a decent enough job absorbing contact, and then just watch his feet just slowly hop, hop, hop. That's a way to just kind of absorb contact and then reset, absorb, reset, absorb, reset. By that time, the ball should be gone. So when you're dealing with a power rush like this into your frame, a hop technique is a good way to sort of just absorb that contact and buy time for your quarterback. And he does that pretty well here, and he has the grip strength when his hands are right to not have to, so his hands don't get chopped down and he kind of gets beat to the outside as a result of that. He's got the strength up top to deal with any counter move from the edge rusher here while he absorbs the contact and allows his quarterback to get rid of the football. So again, you kind of see 3 hops there, 1, 2, and then 3 there. And then, Klubnik again, just kind of rolling right because it's Gay Klubnik, but there is pressure there. I kind of get it in this instance. And then at that point, regardless of what happens, I think I consider that a positive rep for Blake Miller here. Again, knowing who he is and absorbing contact. Sometimes it's about just surviving on a third down rush, and I think that's what he does a really good job of here.
Yeah, no notes, man. You nailed that one. So I guess what I'm curious about is what are your overall thoughts on this prospect, and where would you have him getting drafted?
So I like the smarts. I like his approach. I like the durability. But to me, I see a player that's going to be an average starter at right tackle. And we're the guys, I'm not the lines have been blurred between right and left tackle, but there are still prospects there that are just better suited to be right tackle only type of guys. I think this is a right tackle only type of player, and not an elite one, not a great one. I think this is someone who will be a starter for several years and will be passable, but I'm not sure the ceiling is much beyond that because he's not the fleetest of foot. He doesn't have the most sort of core strength there, and as an experienced prospect in college, I'm not sure you just become that, much stronger of a player in that sense in the NFL where that becomes a strength of yours. So I see this guy, if you tell me you get a starting offensive tackle that's just kind of league average, you're probably drafting that guy in the third round, I would say. Ooh, right? I think that's fair. Okay. I would have him in the third round. I would have him, probably mid third round, maybe, top half of the third round there, because again, I'm the upside chaser. I'm ceiling guy. This isn't necessarily an upside player. This is a veteran, smart, scrappy player who will play through injuries, who will know what to do, who will be in the right place at the right time. But you're going to need to help him out when he's going up against some of these monsters at the edge here in the NFL. He's not going to be just a plus or a value add in that sense. This is more someone who holds serve for you and kind of is a culture driver, that whole thing. So he's a starter for you, but he's not someone that moves the needle as a starter. More so, it's just someone you don't have to be concerned with, and you can place him there for several years and be okay.
All right, let's move on to the next prospect here, Ray. Who do we got?
I think you're up next, and the more we run this last play, the more I'm impressed by how long he actually held up there. But Kadyn Proctor, your boy, take it away.
All right, so we have Kadyn Proctor, the left tackle out of Alabama, played 40 games at Alabama, 985 snaps this past year with an 86.1 PFF grade. He's 6'7", 366 pounds. He is a junior, a true junior, with 3 years of starting experience. Okay, so we talked about 366 pounds. This is probably the other side of the spectrum from the guy we just watched. Let's go ahead and hit play, and we'll watch play number 1 here. So 74, heavy set with the tight end to his side. You're not going to be able to line up on this guy and expect to be able to beat him on a run play and hold your ground. He's going to be able to do things like this at will, which is really just drive you down the field. Incredible strength, right? And again, it's just a big-bodied guy. If he gets his hands on you, you are going to lose. I think that's just one thing to note. Again, we're showing trends.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to add to 366 pounds, just driving you forward here and then just creating a just car wreck at the end of this play.
Yeah, not at all. All right, let's go to play number 2. So 74 again on the left side. You can see that pass blocking stance. He's the only one with his hand not on the ground, and it was a run play. This play, I didn't like it very much, right? Like, kind of whiffs, a little bit lazy, right? Doesn't really help out much. Was meant to get to the second level and doesn't get there in time. So either tell me you got caught up in traffic, which you clearly didn't because you didn't do much help, and then you're like 2 steps late to get to the linebacker to really impact this play. And the guy that you were meant to block ends up making the tackle and stopping this from being a positive gain. What do we expect from a guy that's 366 pounds? It seems like Alabama expected a lot more. I don't know if I would be having him I don't know if I'd be having him run plays like this.
That's the duality of Kadyn Proctor, right? That's the duality of 6'7", 366 pounds. You're going to get a Mack truck in some instances in a phone booth. And then other times you're going to have to live with plays like this where he's already beat. He already hasn't gotten vertical enough to the second level here, and there's just no way he's going to catch up here at this point to the backer, and that's his man. That's his man that makes the play here, as opposed to having a nice free alley for the running back to run through. So Alabama had all this talent and physically imposing, players on their team, and you wonder why they kind of had the season they did. You just kind of saw it summed up in 2 plays.
You really did. Okay. All right, so here we see Kadyn Proctor lined up again on the left side. He doesn't have tight end help, running backs to the opposite side. So he's really kind of one-on-one with this edge rusher, expecting a rush to come his way. We also have that linebacker kind of staring at him. Let's go ahead and hit play and watch what he does here. His hand's actually on the ground this time. He takes a nice step out and locks in. And again, like, you're not beating this guy with a bull rush. That's just not how you're going to be able to play football against this guy and expect to win. I understand maybe that's the responsibility of the edge rusher on this play, but it shows the grip strength, the absolute power that Kadyn Proctor has. This is why you like Kadyn Proctor. So again, I'm just pointing out that duality, right? On one side, we have the strength where in run plays and pass plays, if you're going to be one-on-one lined up against him and he's going to lock on, you are going to lose that rep. We already saw one instance of a run play where the opposite was true, and I'm sure we're going to maybe see a pass play.
Yeah, if you're not attacking one side or one particular shoulder of someone like Kadyn Proctor, you're just not going to go anywhere. And the edge rusher here doesn't go anywhere. This is what you'd expect if you told me someone's 6'7", 366, and they get both hands on you in a pass set. And yeah, that's just how it ends. That's just how it ends.
I feel like it would be really fun for somebody like you or me to play some reps at defensive end against him, because it's like kind of like in 5 plays, on the 5th play we might die, but plays 1 through 4, it'd be really fun. Little cat and mouse, man. It might be a good time. All right, here we see him lined up again on the left side. He's got 2 guys coming off the edge here for him. Let's see what he does. Go ahead and hit play. So he locks in and he whiffs, right? So again, it's like if you're going to be big and strong and that's going to be your power, make sure you put yourself in the right position to be effective. Here, his hips are not square to the defender. They're square to upfield, which could be okay for somebody with a lot more athleticism. He tries to turn and he's kind of too late with it, and his hips are lagged, right? And here the edge rusher just gets that quick step on him. You could hit play. You're going to see him get beat, runs right by him. And these plays are always funny to me because offensive tackles just look so foolish when they get beat that quick. And then they're basically turned around looking at their quarterback going like, oops, sorry. And it's an awkward little thing that happens there. I want to see a lot better speed and control from a guy that's my left tackle, because this gives me tons of concern.
Yeah. If your helmet placement is like this at the handoff, it is way too early in the play for you to be beat to the outside. The whole point is, yes, you want to shield the inside from the defender here, make him go outside, and then you kind of have an alley to your inside for a cutback or what have you. That's fantastic, but it is too early in the play for this right here to already be beat to your outside shoulder when the back doesn't even possess the ball yet. And by the time he does and is going to make his move, now you're fully beat. So it's just too early. He gets beat too quickly here. And like you said, it's because his hips are locked. I mean, this is your hips are locked here. Any position you play, if you're a corner and this is your posture here, you're beat, your hips are locked. You're giving up a deep pass here. As a tackle, you've lost the outside shoulder here when you're in this position. And that's basically what happens here. It's too early. And at 6'7", 366 pounds, he doesn't have the hip swivel to make up for it and stay in front of the defender here. So he misses and the play is blown up.
I think he got really lucky that we picked a game where the edge rushers he was going against are more strong, big-bodied guys and not really true speed rushers. I think I would have been, and I've seen it, but I would be more remiss to draft a guy like this after having seen him play some speed. But I wanted to put him in some good light. So let's go ahead and I think this might be the last play. So here he is. It's a screenplay, and he doesn't get there quick enough, right? So it just tells the same story. It's the trend that we all have kind of been noticing. He's just not the guy that you want to be moving in space, which gives me a lot of concern. So I'm going to wrap this thing up and just talk about kind of my overall thoughts, right? So my man is a big and strong dude. If he locks in, you're done. He'll never lose against a bull rush, and he will definitely struggle to get to his spots in the run and pass plays. Just because faster edge rushers and linebackers are going to absolutely take advantage of him. He has a bit of a gallop in his step as well that I don't love on dropbacks, on natural clean dropbacks. It's a little bit heavy-footed, a little bit of that giddy up. Something we saw from Evan Neal a few years ago, which is why I had downgraded him in my grading that year. I think he kind of looks like a better guard prospect, in my opinion. I understand 6'7" is a massive guard. I don't think he has the movement skills to face everyday edge rushers at the NFL level. That speed is going to be different, and I think he's going to struggle. I probably would draft this guy and move him inside to guard, but saying that, are you really going to pull him from what we've seen today? So I definitely have legitimate concerns for Kadyn Proctor. Not the traditional J.C. Latham, big-bodied guy at Alabama that can really do it all. I think this guy has a lot of flaws to his game, unfortunately. And with that, I think you can take a chance in the 4th round on a guy like this. I think he goes a lot earlier than that because of his size. And again, you have Alabama left tackle with 40 games played under your helmet. But with what I've seen, I'm much more low on this guy.
You're not intrigued by what happens if he loses 30 pounds, 35 pounds, and now he's 6'7", 330?
I don't. I haven't seen that work, right? Like how many guys come into the league at 366 and end up at 400 pounds instead of 330, right? That's more likely what happens. I just don't see that happening.
All right, hot take. I mean, I don't disagree much with what you're saying here. And my concern really is you have a weight program, you have a structured nutrition program at Alabama. For people who say you should go from 360 to 330, that should have already happened. That should happen in college where things are much more structured as opposed to when you're a professional and you got the money and now you're on your own. You're going home by yourself every night. I just, that's the concern to me is there an issue here with adhering to structure? Because he's not putting his body in optimal position to be the best player that he can be. He's just not. No one needs to be 366 pounds in the NFL. You just don't. Whatever advantage you have at 366, you have at 336, and you have 90% of it at 326. So the concern there is, yes, obviously you see what happens on the field in that scenario, but off the field as well, that brings into more of a question as to why wouldn't he get down to that more manageable weight while he's in a structured program at Alabama? We're not talking about someone from Northern Iowa, for example. So yeah, I have some concerns too. I'm ceiling guys, so I'd probably have him as a 3 more so than a 4, but I get the concern.
All right, man. Let us know about this next guy.
All right. So we have Max Iheanachor here, the right tackle from Arizona State. And Chris, this is a fun one. Listed at, depending on where you go, 6'6" or 6'5". I tend to always take the lesser of measurements if you see multiple measurements in different places. 6'5", 325 pounds is what I'm going to go with here for Max Iheanachor, the right tackle from Arizona State. Chris, he immigrated as a teenager from Nigeria and played soccer and basketball growing up. Ooh. He first played football at East LA Community College in 2021 and 2022. So he didn't even play high school football at all.
Wait. 2022 is the first. So he's only played football for 4 years, 3 years.
1, 2, 3, 5 years. He started in 2021.
Okay.
So he's played football for 5 years in his entire life.
2026 just started is why I'm like, yeah, that's 4 years. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. That's the first time ever. Not like, I played a year in Pop Warner and then just like stopped and played soccer. Like, no, it's just his first time playing football in East LA Community College for 2 years. And then Arizona State 23 to 2025. So just remember that. You're going to see that here. But with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and run the tape here. So he's number 58, the right tackle for Arizona State. So with that said, let's just get right into it. Again, right tackle number 58, Max Iheanachor here on the edge of your screen. And similar to Blake Miller, what you're going to notice, I just said he's got a really late start to football. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to recognize and pick up a twist here. I see my rusher go inside. He doesn't really attack me fully to the outside. I'm going to crash hard inside, pick up the twist here, and allow the interior to pick up the outside edge rusher here. So for someone relatively new to football, it's quite savvy enough to notice or read the edge rusher's eyes here. If you notice the edge rusher's eyes here, could just be reading the ball, or he could be telegraphing an inside rush. Not sure either way, but he kind of has a good feel. So he gets out in his stance quickly here. And then as soon as he just kind of mirrors the edge rusher to the inside, he recognizes what's happening here and is going to pick this up and pass off to his help to the inside. So young player, I want to see you get the big picture. You're probably not going to have all the technical nuances down just yet, I would imagine. We'll see. But if you get the big picture stuff, that's a really good start, Chris.
Yeah, dude, you kind of nailed it, right? I like to see an inexperienced player like this being able to be intelligent and do the right things. His stance looks athletic, although I'd say he's slightly too high, but he's a big dude, so I kind of get it. So I'm excited to see more.
Now, if you notice, we're we're watching Texas Tech here. So we're going up against David Bailey and Romello Height. So 2 day 1 or perhaps day 2 rushers here for Height. We'll see, but these are 2 legit rushers. And as you study this tackle class, pretty much everybody just got whooped by these guys. So just keep that in mind as it relates to the competition that we're seeing here. But again, when it comes to some of that nuance that some tackles have, as we run it here, this is Height, and you're going to see he lets the edge rusher, the defender, into his body here, gets jolted backwards. You notice he doesn't have sort of the hop technique there to absorb contact that we saw from Miller and even from Proctor at times, and kind of gets pushed back a bit. They're getting the ball out quick because they're going up against Texas Tech's defensive front, which is ridiculous this past year. Kind of a little off balance here in his kick step here, right? But again, you don't see any nuance here. Like I don't see any wrist or elbow control or kind of repositioning of the hands to try to get back inside or control perhaps that inside arm and then kind of ride him out. You're missing that nuance. And if you want an example of some of that nuance, just look at the left tackle here on the right side of your screen, number 53, if you can. Now it got cut out, but in the wide view, you actually saw him chop down the defender's hand as well when they were engaged. So you kind of miss that from Iheanachor here, which again, this is a young player going up against a top 50 pick in this coming draft. So it's not terribly unexpected, but just to give you an idea of what's missing here, again, you see the edge rusher here kind of disengage his hands, and he doesn't really have a plan of attack or kind of a counter to that. He just kind of gets walked back.
Yeah, not much to add, right? I think his stance at the point of attack was too high. You can tell he's leaning forward a little bit, which I didn't love. So like fast forward a little bit more, right about there, right? You're leaning. That's why I think he gets jolted back. Go ahead and hit play again. Let's watch it right there, right? Can't let that happen. But I would say, right, looking at the positive side, you're telling me this is the 4th or 5th year this guy's ever played football, and he was a soccer and basketball player, has pretty good strength, right? To be able to take that jolt and stay with it and not lose your frame, right? You're still standing up. You're still square. You still have a little bit of strength and you're protecting yourself. Maybe he did that little bounce back on purpose. I like that he stayed somewhat in control of this play instead of completely losing his cool against a top 5 pick.
Yeah. So you kind of can't see him here. Next play, again, this is David Bailey, number 31 here. And so he's just head up, and this is just going to happen. This is just going to happen. I'm not sure I'm mad at him as opposed to the call, but you can't reach here. You're just not going to be able to seal off David Bailey. Again, kind of the nuance here. So we're going to watch this. And this is something, if you recall last year, Josh Simmons was fantastic at this type of play right here, sealing off the edge player and just having good helmet placement, getting his helmet to the outside and sealing that edge. That doesn't happen here. And he doesn't really, you'll notice his inside hand is to the outside of the rusher here. And he just never really gains control. Maybe a core strength issue here as well, where he's just not able to kind of jolt back and try to win that outside positioning here. But again, this is top 5 pick potential David Bailey here, just kind of extending, and you're in space, kind of, flowing in that direction where he's got the momentum and you don't, you're just kind of reacting. So again, this isn't, I imagine most tackles in this class would have the same exact result on this play. It just goes to show you what Iheanachor has to work on here. Just another example of a young player put in a tough spot, probably not going to bail you out with straight athleticism, not against guys like this.
Yeah, to me, this is reps and repetition, man. I want to see him do this 50 more times before I really tell you that he can't do it. I think this is an immature player and this is an immature play, and that's what we're witnessing. So not a huge concern for me if your plan is to develop this guy over the course of a couple of years instead of making him a day 1 starter for you.
I hear you. All right, so David Bailey again, number 31 here. You got number 58. So he's got a tight end. I don't know if that's another tight end there, if that's 2 tight ends to his outside, or a tight end or receiver with that split. But in any event, you see him 58 right tackle here. And just another trend here. A spin move is a physical move. It's a power move, in my opinion. And what you're going to see here again is he ducks his head, kind of lets the defender get into him a little bit, and that allows Bailey to execute the spin, get the ice pick. Again, the ball's out quick, so, no hit on the quarterback or anything, but he loses this rep. There was no recovery here. This was a kind of a quick loss on the spin because just the technique is not there. Just the technical sort of nuance is not there. Ducking your head, leaning forward a little bit, and just kind of letting the edge rusher dictate the action to you here instead of kind of, having a quick punch or a quick set. Just switch it up. I don't see him switching it up much, right? It's kind of the same set each time. And when that happens against a rusher with a plan like Bailey, he's going to set you up for moves like this. And that's exactly what happens here. And unless you are just ungodly athletic, you're going to get beat. And that's what happens here.
Yeah, nothing else to add, man. You said it.
On the flip side, we're going to be positive some more, right? So again, right tackle out in space here. So he's got no shade help to the outside. This is Romello height now, so maybe not a top 5 edge rusher pick in this class, right? But top 50. And we're going to see something similar, and this is what I actually love and very encouraging here. He handles this spin move just fine. What's the difference? He's out in space. The defender doesn't get into his body first. And so you see when Height starts the spin here, there's still space between the two of them here. That allows Iheanachor to be an athlete that he is and react to the change of direction, right? Hand placement still not fantastic or anything, but that's fine. He's just going to ride this out to the inside and just shove him back towards the line of scrimmage, and Height goes nowhere. So you see the difference here in that he has the ability and the athleticism to handle moves like this from pro-level prospects. It's just he can't let the defender get into his body and into his frame to where he's no longer dictating the action. Here, he had the luxury of space, and because he's athletic, he was able to neutralize that spin move and just shove him back to the line of scrimmage. So 2 NFL prospects, 2 spin moves, and you see the difference.
Show it one more time. Just watch his feet. Watch how quick his feet are on this, right? And how he keeps them moving the entire time, right? That's that basketball soccer background just on full display with a guy, again, that's not a mature prospect in any means, but plays like that and seeing foot movement like that gives me a lot of hope for a player like this.
Yep. And
right,
so
Ray,
now we're going to
what are your overall thoughts? You got to give it to us. Tell me where you think he's going to be drafted.
Oh, I got a couple more left.
Same guy? Same guy?
No, same guy.
All right, let's go.
I had to switch games. And by the way, I cheated a little bit because you said 5 plays, but I count those 2 spins as like 1.
Yeah, I thought there was a cheat happening.
Yeah, and I might still be 6. But in any event, I just wanted to show what happens when he goes up against not David Bailey and Romello Height, 2 top 50, 1 top 5, top 10, and then maybe top 50, if not better, edge rusher in this class. So again, you're going to have right tackle here, number 58. And I believe this is a 3rd and 7. Still lets the defender into him. But I mean, do you just notice the difference here? He's not getting jolted back. He's perfectly fine. He's strong enough here, gets his hands on him, and can just kind of ride out the pressure. So the competition is real when you're going up against those Texas Tech rushers here. You still see the same issues. This is still the same player with the same areas of weakness to work on, but the athleticism shows. This is still a P4 rusher here, and he clearly has the athletic and physical advantage here in this takeaway here. So in this skirmish, if you will. So just want to highlight the difference here in Iheanachor's game. And then I like the movement overall in the run game. We're just going to pull to the inside and just kind of have a nice lead block here and knock the defender back, get to the second level, and provide some space for your running back here. I like the movement here. I mean, you see it right here. If this linebacker flows downhill, he's kind of got better positioning, which on Iheanachor because he's just beginning his pull, but he's athletic enough to get around, and just in the time it takes for that backer to square up, that's all Iheanachor needs to then square up on the defender here and get back into position and then knock him back for space for his running back here. So I like the movement. I like the strength. You see the size and athleticism on display here. And boy, it sure looks a lot better when it's not against Texas Tech.
100%, man. Yeah, that athleticism looks great. I think that's the best pull play we've seen on this series so far. So definitely a lot to like here.
Yep. Yeah, so good on Iheanachor. So where would I draft him? I'd draft him in the second. I'd have a 2 on him. I chase the ceiling. I'm perfectly fine chasing the ceiling here. A young player with this kind of tape, I'm all about it. That's incredibly exciting to me because the possibilities are endless there. I don't think he has necessarily bad habits. I just don't think he has enough good habits as a player yet. So you can mold this clay. And again, I think we saw early on, he has sort of the big picture smarts. He can see and react and kind of know what the defense is trying to do when it comes to twist games and stunts and things of that nature. It's just the finer nuances he doesn't have as an offensive lineman, as an offensive tackle, which is fine. If you have the big picture stuff, I know you're coachable. I know you're studying. We can work on the rest of that stuff. So we can work on the finer points of your game. I think maybe I'm a bit high, but I would take Iheanachor in the second.
I think that's spot on. It's kind of like a unicorn stock, right? It's like there's a chance this is worth nothing in 2 years, but the upside is tremendous, right? I think of a team like the Eagles who has Lane Johnson coming back and Jordan Mailata. Like, don't need a tackle right now. We know we have the infrastructure to kind of make something like this work. We've missed a few times before, but it's not going to stop us from trying again. If I could get this guy in the second round as an Eagle, this is a great fit for that kind of an offense, and I really like that. I think we're on our last guy here for today, Ray.
One more thing. I'm gonna keep glazing him a little bit more. Everybody else play side was on the ground except him. Just FYI. I like to see that. That shows balance as a lineman.
It does. All right, let's go to the next guy, Ray. Okay, so next up we have Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. He is a 6'7", 315-pound prospect. He's a junior, played 37 games at left tackle, had 891 snaps played this season and 72.1 PFF grade. This is a really intelligent blocker. I'd say he's very different than anything we've seen today. Let's go ahead and play it. Play one here, again, lined up on the left side, has a running back behind him. Just a simple drop back, and it shows intelligence. If a guy's going to dip his head on you, and again, this is playing great competition. If a guy's going to kind of give you a shoulder and go low on you, drop his ass, right? Like let's put him in the dirt. And that's exactly what he does here. He buries him. Just shows kind of good fundamentals. Again, you can see one thing that I like. Run it back one more time, Ray. You see the things that I like. He's controlled. He's hopping. His hands are out in front of him. He's ready to attack. And he doesn't attack too soon, right? He allows the defender to engage him, but in control, focused, hands are out. And then again, when that allows you, when he dips his shoulder, to do what you need to do, which is just to drop him here. So great play overall by Freeling.
Yeah, take what the defense gives you isn't just a trope about quarterbacks. It's also for every other position or every other offensive position. And the same goes for offensive tackle here. You're going to kind of be top heavy and be caught leaning like that. Fine, I'll just take you to the ground because that's where you're going anyway.
Yeah, it shows intelligence, and we're going to see a lot of that. Let's go ahead and run the second play here. So same guy, 22, lined up across from him, running back to his side, and it's a run play. And I just love what he does on this. All right, he's kind of alone on an island. Number 4 over pursues, which is great. It opens up this lane, and he locks in, and he drives, and he controls long enough that the running back can escape with barely being touched on that play. That is a hard thing to do as a tackle when you're alone, right? It's easy for an edge rusher to be able to escape this and step inside because there is all that space just to kind of slow things down, and he's not able to because Freeling really has a good hold of him on this play. Really like the first 2 plays here for Freeling.
Yeah, and it takes athleticism to not get, again, we talk about helmet placement here, to not get caught sort of leaning and be vulnerable to a holding call here, because when you're on an island like that, the officials see everything. So if you're out of position and your feet aren't moving, you will get called for holding if the defender sort of pursues there. But good footwork and body placement there prevents any possibility of that at all, because it's not a hold. It's just a fantastic block.
Yeah. All right. Play number 3, similar kind of situation. Alone again with 22, running backs on the other side this time. And I'm coming in, and my job is to help chip and get to the next level and kind of set the mark. I do that effectively. Yes, he gets across from me, but what do? Is I just drive him the way he's going, right? And I create a back lane for my running back. Again, it's not a perfect rep, right? Perfect rep is you kind of silo him off, and you set the edge there. You don't let him get across from you. But this is the intelligence that I'm talking about, where if you know that you got beat, buy into it, right? Drive them out of the play. And that's what he tries to do here. And I think it was the right thing to do to create that back lane again for the running back.
Yeah, it's never perfect. It's never as it's always drawn up, or it's not always as it's drawn up, right? So you have to have a counter. You have to be able to react with the flow of the play. And that's what he does here. So again, you're going to go to the outside. Fine. I will take you to the outside, allow my running back to react to the flow of the play and just still stay engaged with you. Yeah, this is just a natural feel.
Yeah, I like it. Play here kind of jumps a little too quick. I cut it a little too quick. Sorry about that, Ray. But again, he's alone on the island with 22. It's a pass play. And look at all that space that 22 has to work with. And he's not getting much, right? As a quarterback on this play, you feel so confident in your left tackle that you're not even flinching behind yourself, right? You're not worried about that coming pressure. You know that you're good. That is a luxury that not a lot of people have. And you can see that on full display here because of what Monroe Freeling does on this play. It's another thing that I really like is just the trust that his quarterback has in him.
Yeah, and it's not perfect, right? It's not perfect. He's leaning a little bit here, kind of knocked off his base, a little bit narrow.
Hands aren't perfect, for sure.
Hands aren't perfect at all, but that inside hand is kind of still just engaged with the inside hand of the rusher here to kind of slow him up a bit. And then he just works. He just continues to work and strain on the play here and just kind of ride him out. And that's more than enough time needed for the quarterback to step up and attempt the throw anyway. And you got to slide right. You're on your own here. That's a perfectly acceptable. That's a plus rep in my book. Good recovery. And yeah, that's a grinder. That's a scrapper.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go ahead and play this next one here. He has a tight end to his side. He crosses and he's alone. And it's another good rep, right? Like it's another good rep. It's not a perfect rep, but it's good, right? He kind of wins at first. The defender tries to take a step back and get another reload to try to take another shot at him. And what does he do? He gets his base in a perfect, stop it right there. Like he's in a great position recalibrating to attack again, right? I won the first battle and I'm ready to go to battle again. I recalibrate, I get ready, I get my hands ready. The quarterback this time, again, I trust my guy on this side. I think I'm going to be able to escape this way. I don't think that was the best decision by the quarterback. He should have stayed. That pocket is not dirty. And instead, he kind of creates pressure on himself by stepping that way. But all in all, from the tackle's perspective, this is a great rep. Like no notes, a great rep for Freeling.
Yeah, this is a really good mirror. I mean, if your rusher's making a play over here outside of the pocket, you did your job. And he does his job. That's a good mirror here. Good base overall. Nothing negative to say about it. It's a good play overall.
Yeah.
Where do you got him, Chris? That's all you got.
Okay, that's all I got. I mean, there's a reason I didn't show a lot of negative plays on this. I didn't see a lot of it. I really, really didn't. I think we have a very intelligent blocker whose physicality is not overwhelming. This is not a guy that's 350 pounds or 340 pounds. He's 315, and he plays stronger than 315, but he does play as athletic as 315, right? But the physicality is not something that I'm going to try to oversell you on. I think the knowledge of his responsibilities is really what is going to put him ahead in a draft like this. I think he has great body control, puts himself in positions to be successful. I don't know what it is about Georgia, but the last couple of years I've been like kind of gushing over Georgia linemen. There's a lot of that Tate Ratledge, which is like you're not an overwhelming prospect, but you're doing every little thing right. And we saw how that worked for Tate Ratledge for the Lions, right? He was a starting guard for them the entire year. Like can't ask for much more than that. And it was pretty good, right? It wasn't great. It wasn't the best rookie year we've ever seen from a guard, but it was very good. I think, the hand battling is the thing that I was really excited about as well, right? Like there wasn't a prospect that we watched in this series that fought with his hands as well as Freeling did, in my opinion, right? I do, I'm always going to worry about NFL speed about it for a guy like this, because again, I think the physicality is not what he's going to write home about. So what is this going to look like against elite NFL edge rush speed? We'll see. But I think you can very clearly take this guy in the early second round and feel very confident that you have a good football player, right? Probably not a great football player, probably not an all-pro football player, but you have a good football player, and he's going to be a starter on your team for a long time.
Yeah, the thing is, when you say early second round about offensive tackles, they tend to go in the first. And
I'm giving you my grade, right? Everything we've talked about today is what we think we would do with these prospects. I agree with you 100%. This guy probably goes in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. I think the lack of overwhelming physical prowess and ability can be a hindrance at times, but he more than makes up for it with everything else in the intangibles here. He's just a really solid football player, pretty much like a souped up version of what I discussed with Blake Miller, with kind of, lighter feet, kind of more ease and flow and reactive nature to his game during the play. That adds up to a very high second rounder to me. That would be my grade on him. I'd have a high 2. I like him a lot, but I do see at times kind of the narrow base get knocked off a little bit. And, that's going to come to bite you in the pros a bit, but regardless, that's a starter level player and a really solid starter level player for someone, even if he's not going to be a star or a superstar for 10 to 12 years.
All right, Ray, we got through our offensive tackle review for the day. I recognize there were a couple guys that we didn't do, right? Spencer Fanu, Caleb Lomu out of Utah. Can't have a full tackle conversation without those two guys. We're still going to cut those films. We're still going to get on here and talk about those guys, maybe a couple others as well. I think at that point, that's when we should do our ranking for this tackle group. But until then, everybody, thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't yet, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF. And give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts, and have a great rest of your day.